What is up, Insaners? Welcome to the Euro 2020 Fantasy Semi-Final Deadline stream, guys. How are you guys doing? Semi-finals are here. 4 teams to go. Again, lots to discuss as always in this stream as well, guys. I know there are a few players that are there to choose from. I know the Spain lineup is also out, so we'll kind of also cover that. There were a few surprises, and I am in a kind of a big fix, so please help me out as well in today's stream. I think it's going to be a little different, a lot more fun because this is the first time I'm a little, not sure about what my team is and what I'm going with because there are a couple of changes, etc. And we'll kind of cover all of those things. We'll try to help you guys in terms of captaincy because I think captaincy is really important for this week. I know, as I said, that we'll be having a lot of players which are similar. So I think captaincy here will make a lot of sense, and choosing the right captain will make a lot of sense. Again, it depends if you're catching up, if you are playing differential, or if you're just playing, trying to play safe, trying to protect your rank and protect your position in the mini league. So it'll depend a lot upon that. I think we have about an hour to go, so make sure that put in your questions, put in whatever queries, comments, anything that you have. And guys, do hit the like button. Do subscribe to the channel as well if you're new around here. Your support really helps us deliver excellent content and great content for everyone in the fantasy community. So it's really been helpful. It's really been pretty good. Your support has been massive. So thank you so much to everyone who has been there with us since the very beginning and also joined us in this whole journey. I think it's been pretty amazing. So we'll start off with the questions. Hi to everyone who's already a part of the stream and who's joined us again. Welcome back again to the deadline stream. Mr. Drogo, hi. I hope you're doing good. I'm also doing good. I'm a little perturbed by seeing the Spain lineup, and I'll kind of come to that as well. Who to give the armband? I think if you see the screen, I think the first name you'll see here is Morata, and I was dead sure that Morata is gonna start in this particular game. But again, that's not happened. Orazabal has now come in, and he could be a great differential if you are planning to take a 1 week punt. I think he could be a decent differential because I'm telling you guys, absolutely nobody is gonna have him in their teams, right? And with the 5 free transfers that you will be having, I think it's a very easy transfer to make. But in any case, I think the captaincy would probably shift more towards the Italian players, and I was pretty much fixed in terms of the Italian players. To be very honest, I was not very sure whether to captain Berardi or captain Chiesa. I think Chiesa did pretty well, so I think there are two options here. In case if you are playing safe, if you really don't want to take a lot of risk, I think Insigne would be my pick to go for. I think he's done pretty well. He scored an absolute great goal against Belgium. That was outside the box, so he got an additional point for that. And I think we have seen that he has the quality to do that, right? He doesn't do that quite often, and probably he's not done that enough in the in the Euro 2020 tournament. But I think he's a damn good player. And if you are willing to play safe, if you are looking to get the best attacking player, I think Insigne would be the pick. Now, in case if you are playing differential and if you want to do a bit of a catch up, I think Chiesa, when with him starting, I think he's a very good option as well. His ownership is also pretty low, and I think people at this stage might not be willing to take a lot of risks, right? So I think he's a great option to go for. Not very sure in terms of the Spanish players. I think Ferran Torres would still be a good option. I think this game, probably won't be a clean sheet for Italy. And I have a couple of players in Italy, and I'm saying that, so I'm a little worried there. But I think Spain has the ability to do well in this particular game, and I think Ferran Torres, with whatever goal threat he's had and whatever he's shown so far in the tournament, I think he has the ability to score in this game. So I think if you really want to take a huge risk, I think Ferran Torres, but safer pick would be Insigne. Olmo can also be one. Yeah, I think Olmo is also a decent differential. Whether to captain him, I think that's a huge risk. I'll probably go for the safer Ferran Torres. But Olmo, if you really want to play, huge differential and you are okay taking that kind of a stake, I think Olmo can be one. Immobile, I'm not 100% sure. Immobile, I think he had a pretty poor game last time around. It was a difficult watch if you are an Immobile fan, or if you probably captained him, or if you had him, if you had him in your team. But I think this game as well, I think he's gonna drop a bit deeper to let the likes of Insigne and Chiesa play, and I think that obviously draws a lot of defenders. So it's probably not a great option from a fantasy perspective, but if you look at the overall Italy's play, right, I think he plays a huge and a very important role, which a lot of us kind of overlook. But I think from a fantasy perspective, I would probably avoid Immobile. Piyush, hi. Murata is out. I know Orazabal is in, so I have doubts. I also have doubts, in fact, whether he'll be able to show the physical strength. I think he'll have a difficult game, and probably he'll try to drift on the left, towards the left, go on that side, try to do things a bit differently. Again, he doesn't have the physicality, and as we all know that. So I think it's gonna be a difficult time. I think I'm still pretty perturbed in terms of why Murata hasn't started. Right? I still it bothers me, right? Like, I know that he's not a clinical finisher. I know he's missed a lot of chances. Spain, are top in terms of creating chances, top in terms of big chances, and even the expected goals. So it's yeah, I get the point that he's missed a lot of chances, and you probably think that you might have a better finisher in Orizabal, but I still feel Murata could have done well. Again, now coming from the bench, I still feel he's a decent option, but I think Orazabal is I'm not very confident about him. If you're again looking to go differential, I think he will be a massive differential. And what's to say that he can't score against the likes of Bonucci and Chiellini? I know it's going to be a little difficult, but if you really want to take a bit of a risk, if you really want to put your team out there and take your chances, I think why not? Just a couple of weeks left, just a couple of games left, in fact, and I think there's not a lot to differentiate when you talk about the likes of other Italian players or other England players. So I think why not give it a shot? I think it's an easy transfer out if it doesn't work out, or if at all Spain goes out. But I think I probably don't fancy him scoring, to be very honest. I still feel Morata from the bench could still do something. Barati is not starting. Yeah, Sahil, Barati is not starting, and I have him in my team. I've had him in my team for a couple of match days at least. So I'm still thinking in terms of whether to transfer him out, because I don't have money, right? So for my particular team, I don't have any money in the bank, and that is where my problem lies. Though I still have a transfer to make, and I can make a transfer, but I'll probably have to take a hit to get Chiesa for Barati. And if is it worth it? Again, not 100% sure. Yes, if probably I'm captaining Chiesa, I might have been able to double that advantage. But I personally feel it might not be worth a hit. Again, you might have a different opinion, which is absolutely right. But I feel that probably I'll just stick with Baradi. I can easily I can transfer him out next week in case if he's not starting then as well. If Italy reaches the finals. But I think I'll just keep him as is, and I'll probably get the likes of Mila or even Damsgaard. I have Luke Shaw, but then again I have other fires to put out through Luke Shaw. So not 100% happy in terms of how the lineup has kind of turned out. But I'll probably keep Baradi in case if you can change. I think Berardi to Chiesa is a very easy upgrade. I think Chiesa is also going to be a decent differential. I still feel, a lot of people will get in Chiesa after seeing the lineup. But again, how many of those are really there, right? How many people are really following and playing fantasy till the last moment? Like, how many will see the lineup? Again, you can't be sure, right? What's going to be that number? But I think a lot of people will be transferring him in. So I think he's probably around. I'm not sure how much ownership he is at the moment, but I think it's definitely going to increase a lot. And so I think, yeah, that could be an easy upgrade if if you have that free transfer, if you have some funds in the bank. I personally don't, and I probably just keep him on in the lineup because there's a chance that Berardi might come on and do something. Morata or Orizabal, I think. Again, if you're looking to take a risk, I think Orazabal is a decent option to go for. I think it could be a decent 1 week punt. I personally feel that it could be difficult for him to face the likes of Bonucci and Chiellini. But again, what's there to lose, right? Right now, as I said, a lot of people would be having similar teams. So if you really want to differentiate, would he be a bad pick? Maybe not, right? Maybe not. So you can go for him. I think. I still have faith in Morata, and I know I'll get a lot of slack for it. I'm sure a lot of people don't think that Morata is probably a great player or a good player, and obviously he's a very average finisher. But I think for a 1 week punt or for a one match day punt, I think Orazabal could be a decent option. You have firstly you have one free transfer, but you've already got every player playing. SP out for Emerson maybe. Again, if it's if it's a free transfer, probably yes. Aspilicueta, from an attacking perspective, I really don't rate him very highly, right? And I think in this particular game, he will be doing a lot of defending. I think, so I feel that you can take Emerson in. I think with Emerson, you're also obviously you're backing up Italy to go through, which is also the favorite team to go through for this particular round in that fixture. So I think you'll have an extra player. I think Emerson will also play in the final as well. It's very unfortunate that Spinazzola got injured. He was absolutely crazy in whatever he did or whatever he's done so far. So I think Emerson could be a decent move, especially if it's on a free transfer, right? If probably it was a -4, I wouldn't have suggested it. But I think on a free transfer, it's a decent option to go for. I think Spain will definitely concede. Again, that's totally my feeling. There can be an upset, and things can go awfully wrong as they have done in the tournament so far. But I think you genuinely back the favorite team, right? So I think with Emerson playing, I think that could be a decent option to go for. Anirudh, hey, and your question is Immobile, captain, or Chiesa? I think Chiesa would be my pick, to be very honest. I think there's a good differential in Chiesa. He's a very attacking player. He's more of a traditional winger, but he still likes to make those runs and try again. Has a good assist potential. Can also score as well, right? We've seen that in the past. So I think if you really wanna go a bit differential, I think Chiesa could be a really good option. I think Immobile is highly owned. And a few of I still think that some people will still go for Immobile as a captain because I know he just comes out to be a much safer sort of a pick, right? Chiesa people have only seen for a couple of weeks, so a lot of people won't be knowing about Chiesa and how he plays. I think this is where you can actually take the advantage and go for someone like a Chiesa. I think he'll still do very well in this game. He's gonna cause a lot of problems for the defenders, for the wide players, for the defensive wide players of Spain. So I think he's still a very good option to go for. And I personally, I feel I'm going a little safer considering what all has happened already with my team. But I think if I really have to go for a differential, and if your choices are between the two, I think I'll definitely go with Chiesa. Drogo, you're a Manchester United fan. Yes, Manchester United all the way. It's been a hell of a journey. I think I've followed them for about almost about a decade and a half. So yeah. Sahil, Morata will bring in pace in the second half and work those tired Italian legs. Yeah, that could be a very important point. And I definitely don't. I personally would not want to take out Morata for a different striker. There are a lot of reasons for it. Firstly, we don't really have a lot of strikers to go for. You would not probably want to go for a Denmark striker again. Probably there, Dolberg is more likely to start. But now, when you compare him to, let's say, someone like a Orizabal, I think there is still, a chance that Morata can come from the bench. So, in case if you have a free transfer, maybe it's a risk worth taking. Again, I personally don't fancy Orizabal to score, but again, a 1 week punt, and if you're chasing especially, I think it's an okay kind of a move to go for. But in case if you're playing safe, if you have Morata, I definitely won't captain him now because obviously he's on the bench. But I think if you have Morata, I personally, and if you have a couple of free transfer or a free transfer, or if you do not have a lot of fires to put out, I think it's still a player to kind of keep for this particular week. I think still there is a chance that he can come from the bench and do something. And I personally believe in Morata. I can just say that. So I think yeah, Morata could be still a decent option. I think even from the bench, he could have a lot of pace for those defenders, depending on how the game goes, right? Whether Italy is able to dominate, whether Spain, gets more of the ball. It'll be an interesting, and a very fascinating battle. I still feel Italy are favorites, but what meets the eye, I think it's not a very easy game to kind of call out, and things could go very different. There is a chance that Spain can get an upset. So I think Morata would still be a decent option. We're taking a 4 point hit, Piyush. I just covered this. I still don't think there's a it's worth taking a 4 point hit. Again, how much do you think that he can score against Italy? Right, considering their defense and considering he's not really played a lot in the tournament. Italian defense is pretty sound, right? In terms of chances conceded, if you look at a couple of stats, I think Italy is one of the better teams to be in the tournament. They've hardly conceded any chances, and Spain is a team which obviously creates a lot of chances, but they miss a lot, right? Obviously, a lot of it is also dependent on Morata being in the lineup, even Moreno missing a lot of chances, and Orizabal might be a little better than both of them. Again, that's just that's merely speculation at this moment. But I personally don't feel it's worth taking a -4, right? Because you're already letting off 4 points here, and even if he scores a goal, right, a forward scoring a goal is what, 4 points. Playing the game is 2 points, so you're getting 6 points, and then you're conceding 4 points. So the net gain is probably 2 points, which again won't be that high, right? Because in case if you don't get your captaincy right, or in case if a lot of other players probably go for a particular differential and that differential does well, let's say like an Italian defender, somebody like an Emerson does well, right? He gets an assist or gets an attacking return, and you don't have him in your team. I think that whole advantage that you would probably have gained from Orizabal, I think that will go, right? So I think it's not worth a hit for sure. I think Morata will still come. I personally don't believe that Morata is going to sit out the whole game, depending on whatever the situation is, and if Spain is losing, or if they're leading, if it's a draw, if it goes to 120 minutes, there's still a lot of chances that Morata can get a sizable chunk of minutes for this game. So I think definitely not worth a hit. I would still probably just keep Morata. I obviously would also focus on my bench in terms of what all bench players do I have, and how can I cover Morata with probably an extra midfielder or an extra defender. So I'll kind of look into that a little bit more. But I personally don't feel it's worth taking a hit for taking out Morata. We'll take up the next one. Orizabal or Chiesa. I think again, not sure in terms of how that choice is, because one is a forward. Orizabal is a forward and Chiesa is a midfielder, I think. Right. Orizabal is a forward in the game. Yeah. So I think let me just check that once. Yeah, let me just check that once in terms of whether Orizabal is a midfielder. I don't think so. He's a midfielder. Let me just go through it once. Yeah, he's a forward in the game. Yeah. So I think out of the two, I would definitely go for Chiesa. Again, ignoring the fact that they are different positions, but I think I would definitely go for Chiesa. I think there's a good upside with him. I think his ownership is still going to be decently lower. I won't say it'd be as low as it was probably before the lineups kind of came out, but I think Chiesa is could have a good game. I think against the Spanish defense, especially the wingbacks, the likes of Alba, who will be on that side. Alba is a sort of a player who likes to push a lot more forward, right? And that might create a lot of space for Chiesa to run into. Plus, with Immobile, trying to come in deep and trying to create that additional space, I think there's a good possibility that Chiesa can get an attacking return from this game. So I think being the stronger team, being the slightly stronger team, being the stronger attack for sure, in this tournament at least, I think Chiesa could be the one to go for here. What to do with Morata, bro? I've locked my that's kind of what happened with me as well, Shubham. I think I also locked my team a little earlier, and though I still have a transfer to make, but I don't have any budget. So in case if I have to make changes, I will have to take a -4. And I as I said, I personally don't like taking a -4 for taking out Morata. I really don't think so that it's worth the risk, because again in the final we might see him starting, and then you again kind of get that dilemma, whether you have to make that additional transfer, and again depending on your team that might work or might not work. So I still feel just keep him as is. Just obviously play him today. Don't keep him on the bench, because there is a chance that he might come from the bench and do something. So and in case if he doesn't do anything, depending on who you've got, depending on your formation, whether you have a couple of defenders on your bench, whether you've got a couple of midfielders on your bench, whether you're probably going for someone like a Dolberg, you can take again depending on if you have him in your team, you can go for him instead of Morata. But I still feel keep Morata on the in your team and just play him as is. Don't feel that it's worth taking a hit for. Spanish replacement for Sarabia, you already have Torres. I think Olmo, would be a good replacement. I think there is still some sizable difference in terms of their pricing. I think it's almost 7.2, and I think Sarabia is 6.8 or 6.9. So I think 0.3, 0.4 difference there. So if you can manage the upgrade, I think Olmo is a decent upgrade to go for. I think a lot of people are talking about Pedri as well, playing in that deep lying sort of a role, trying to play that perfect pass, trying to open out trying to open the defense. I think it could still be a decent shout, but I think it's probably pushing your luck a little too far. I still feel Olmo in that attacking position could score, could not score, could assist. Again, it's difficult to say that, but I still feel in terms of attacking threat, right, Olmo would definitely have a lot more attacking threat than the likes of Pedri. So if you can, make that upgrade, I think he's a very good option to go for. Um, should you take a hit? I think I've already covered Shubham. I won't take a hit for removing Morata. I think I will play him. I will still keep him in my 11. Mohammed, are you gonna take Morata off? I don't think so. I'll take him off. No point of taking him off, right? Like who will I get him in for? Again, I can do that tomorrow, or I can do that in the before the next game's deadline. But for this week, there is a chance of playing him, right? Because I think I've learned this the hard way. I think it was match day 3. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was match day 3 when I think Torres didn't start. Some one of those match days when Torres didn't start and he came off the bench and he got an assist. And I didn't play him that week, right? So I lost about 4 points there. One for the appearance and I think three for an assist. So I think there's absolutely no harm in playing Morata in your team, right? He can definitely come from the bench and do something. So depending on how the other players play and how my team is shaped before the England game, which is tomorrow, I think I'll probably take him off. Again, I don't really have a lot of options on the bench because I have a couple of Danish players. So, do you really trust Danish players to do something against the England team? Who probably has one of the best defenses if you compare or if you look at the Euros history. Not really sure about that, but again, if he gets probably a point, there might be someone like a Mila or someone like a Damsgaard might be worth it if they get a couple of points. If they play at least 60 minutes, at least I get an additional point there, right? So I know it's not a lot, and it's not the ideal or the optimum strategy for my team, but I think I'll keep Morata for this for tonight. I'll keep Morata for sure. I won't be keeping him on the bench. Immobile or Orizabal, I think I would still feel Immobile is the better one to go for. I think probably you won't captain him, but I think in terms of a pick, I think I still favor Italy outscoring Spain, and there is a good chance that Immobile can get an assist. It's not necessary that he would score, but again, there's a good chance that he can create for the likes of Olmo and even Ferran Torres. So I think there's a good chance that he gets something better from the likes of Orizabal. I think Orizabal definitely won't be playing. He will play the majority of the game. Probably he plays till halftime again, depending on how the match goes. Probably he gets substituted, at the 60th minute, and when Morata comes in, so that could be another possibility. But I feel Immobile will definitely play the whole game. There is more chance of him getting more points. And linking up with the likes of Chiesa and Insigne, who will be darting forward, against the likes of Azpilicueta and Alba, I think there's a good chance that Immobile would do well, and I would prefer Immobile out of the two. Rendell, hi mate, how you doing? Um, should I go for Immobile or Dolberg? I think yeah, that's a very interesting comparison. I have in fact answered a few DMs on Instagram regarding the same, and I think again, who do you really fancy? Going to the next round. Do you really think that Dolberg against? First of all, there is a slight risk. Again, I won't say that there's a huge risk, but there's still a tiny risk that Dolberg might not start. I know Poulsen didn't start the last game; he was not fit. I still think that he's not fit, so he might play as a super sub, sort of a role, and he might come in a lot later. Again, depending on how the match is going. But I still feel Dolberg against the English defense, I still feel that he won't score. Again, don't quote me if he scores and, I'm wrong here. But again, I probably would be, going for the favorites and trying to favor the odds here with England, having and keeping that clean sheet. So I think out of the two, Immobile is definitely higher. He has higher ownership, so he's more owned. So in case if you are looking, again, it also depends on your strategy, right? In case if you are looking to do catch up, if you really want to take a risk, or if you're just playing the for the heck of it and you just want to take a few chances and see what happens, I think Dolberg could be an option, but again, I'm not very confident of him scoring against England, right? So I would definitely go with Immobile here. Spreading the risk for final, I think that's a decent strategy. Again, it depends, Anirudh. You could obviously go for the split strategy. You could obviously, uh, you know, spread your risk for this particular week, or go heavy in terms of England or Italy as well, who are considered to be favorites for progressing to the next round. Obviously, that's a huge risk because in an absolute madness sort of a case, if Italy or England don't go through, then I think a lot of us are going to be in a lot of trouble because I think a lot of us are favoring those teams to kind of go to the next round. So you can still spread the risk. You can still go for 3 to 4 players from each team, because I hope you guys know that we won't be able to make substitutions for the finals, right? So you would be sticking to an 11. Even if you get a full team of 15 players, you won't be able to make any substitutions because it's just one game, right? So you would still be playing with 11 players. So if think that spreading the risk here would be ideal or could be the right strategy, again, go for it. Absolutely go for it. There is no absolutely right way to play the game anyways, right? So it totally depends on how you want to play and what kind of strategy you are following. um Brian, hi. Would you go for Olmo, which would mean 3 Spain, or Chiesa, which would mean 5 Italy? I think I would probably go for, out of the two, I prefer Chiesa. Again, not saying that Olmo is a bad pick, but going for 3 Spanish attackers against the Italian defense, I'm not a very huge fan of that. Not a huge fan of that for sure. I think there's still good chance that Chiesa goes through, and you have an additional player for the final as well, right? So thinking again, there's not a lot of long term thinking to be done here. There's only one more match, so and you can easily get in Chiesa if you have those. You'll be having those 5 free transfers, right? So in case if you don't really have a lot of other things to do, I think Chiesa is an easy switch in the next week, as in the next match day as well. But I think overall I would still prefer Chiesa. I think overall more. I think saves me a transfer. There's good potential for an attacking return. Olmo, I was not 100% convinced in terms of his last game. I think he missed a lot of decent chances. I think Chiesa is probably, has more attacking potential, has also a good chance of getting a few assists as well. So I think overall, I think Chiesa would be my pick. Again, both are differentials, and I think Olmo is going to be a better differential in terms of at least the ownership perspective. But I think Chiesa would be a better pick here. Predictions, I think, yeah, I think I'll also go 2-1 to Italy. I think Spain has a good chance of scoring in this. I still believe in their attack. I know they've missed a lot of chances, and I think their chance conversion numbers are very poor. Like, they're very, very bad, right? I think they've created some 20 or 25 big chances, and they've only I think converted 6 or 7 of them, right? So that's a pretty bad average. But I still feel that there's a chance of Spain doing decent in terms of attack. I know their defense has been a bit dodgy, and they've conceded some odd goals, they've conceded an own goal as well. So I think, yeah, there are worries in terms of the defense there. Again, with Eric Garcia coming in, I'm not 100% sure whether it's strengthening the defense, or whether it's probably making it a bit weaker as well. Because I think Pau Torres did pretty okay, to be very honest. So yeah, I would also go for 2-1. I think Spain has the potential to score, and Italy would be getting a couple of goals. That was anyways my prediction. Barella in for Sarabia. Can Barella deliver? I think Barella is another very good option. I think not a lot of us have spoken about or have considered Barella. I think in terms of a differential, I think his ownership is around 13 to 14%, roughly around that. I know uh, it's not a very small or a small number. I think but it's still in the differential category if you consider the amount of players that are playing, right? So I think there's still a decent chance of Barella doing well. I think he occupies a free role in that midfield, and he can obviously attack. He can obviously make those runs as well. He can also play a pass, score a goal as well. So there are multiple outlets to Barella, right? Just that because he's obviously not playing in the front three, your confidence slightly fledges a bit, and you feel that the likes of Chiesa or Insigne are better picks. But I think in terms of going for a option, again, Barella is also a good one. Whether I'll prioritize Barella over Chiesa, I'm not 100% sure. I still think that Chiesa is probably has a lot more attacking threat, and would probably outscore, in case obviously if he gets an attacking return, he will outscore the likes of Barella, considering if Barella doesn't do anything. But I still think I would prefer Chiesa over Barella, to be very honest. Ram, never change your transfer soon. Wait for the last moment. Absolutely. I still, I still thought that Morata would start, but the point here is that I still have a transfer to make. So it's not that I've not really made my transfers, but probably if, again, I'm not really sure what else could I've done with my team. I probably could have upgraded Berardi to probably Chiesa. I think that's the only transfer that I could have made. But yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah. In case, because I was absolutely sure that Morata will be starting this game, so I thought that it probably would be a decent strategy to go with him. And I didn't bring Morata in. I've not really changed my front three and the attacking three that I have in my team. All of them have been in my team for a couple of weeks now, so a couple of match days now. So I think that's okay. Yeah, but I agree. Like in terms of going for early transfers, it's always a risk. And I think Luis Enrique is kind of turning into a Pep, to be very honest, right? He's made a lot of changes, and he's really made our life a living hell, to be very honest, because it's gotten a little difficult to assess and understand what will those front three be for Spain, right? And that's what happened in this week as well. Um, yeah. So we'll take up the next one here. How many free transfers before the final? We have 5 free transfers, similar to what we have in the semi-final. So you'll be having 5 transfers. Um, Thank God I stayed up, Dave, before making any transfers. It's 2 a.m. now where I am. Yeah, like in India, it's 12 right now, 12 a.m. So we're still doing okay in terms of time. But yeah, 2 a.m. is late for sure. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of if you're really playing this seriously again. So a lot of us are playing just for fun. I know a lot of YouTubers, a lot of streamers, a lot of people on Twitter, who were playing very seriously, got knocked off it after a couple of match days, seeing what has happened with their teams. And I'm also not doing that great. I'll be very honest. I'm probably around the 100k, or I think around the 120k mark. And then that's not great, especially when I consider what I've been doing in terms of FPL. But I think, yeah, that's what it is. And let's see what we can do. Prefer Insigne or Chiesa to be captain? I think Insigne is the slightly safer option, Rendell. Chiesa would be a slightly differential option. If you are okay taking a bit of a risk, again, depending on your strategy, if you're playing safe, Insigne has to be the guy. In case if you're doing catch up, and if you're in, let's say you're playing your mini leagues, and if you are chasing, or if you are behind by a few points, or behind by a decent distance, I think then Chiesa is absolutely going, worth going for. Recently, after seeing lineups, Ram, you saying I went Emerson for Spinazzola and Orizabal for Sheikh. I have strong feeling Orizabal has a high confidence, so he might fancy his chances. Yeah, I still think that he's a better finisher than the likes of probably Morata. But again, the question is how, and considering that he's not really played a lot, right? And there'll be a lot of nerves because this is a very important game. It's a semi-final. It's not a group stage game where you still can take your chances. Even the coach can, even the manager can have a lot of confidence in you, because I still feel that he will be subbed off probably in around the 60th, sort of a range. Maybe there's a high chance for that. So personally, not very confident in terms of him starting as a differential option. I think he's still okay. He's not the worst option to go for, considering that you can change him in the next match day. So let's see. Mukundan, you're saying good defense options from Italy under the 5.6 cost. I think 5.6, below 5.6, you will have Di Lorenzo. I think how much is Emerson? I think Emerson would also be in that sort of a range, 5.5 to 5.6. Yeah, Emerson is 5.5. Di Lorenzo is 5.2. So both are starting. So you can go for both depending on your budget. I still don't see a lot of difference in terms of both players, because no one, like both of them aren't like Spinazzolas, right? So you're not going to get that attacking threat. You're not going to get the same kind of runs, the same kind of movement what you got from Spinazzola, and like we have to accept that fact, right? So yes, Emerson, I'm not very, and I have nothing against Emerson or him as a player, but I am generally not been very convinced with Emerson. The kind of runs that he's made, I know he's not as attacking as Spinazzola, but whatever he's done so far, again, I'm not 100% sure. He can still probably advance a lot more, a lot further forward as compared to Di Lorenzo, who's generally sat back. And, that's how Italy have been playing so far in the tournament, or generally that's how they play, where, Spinazzola tries to push forward and bomb forward as much as he can and literally play like a left winger. And, Di Lorenzo tries to stay back and, cover that defense and cover that area of the pitch, right? So it's a tricky one, to be honest. I think both are okay options. You probably won't be getting an attacking return from either of them. So I still feel Emerson is going to be a lot lesser in terms of ownership. But again, if they both only get a clean sheet, I think there's not really much of a difference. So you can go for the likes of Emerson. I think he's slightly better in terms of the attacking output. Slightly better. It's a very close call, to be honest. We'll take up the next one. Vibhas, Morata is on the bench in the starting lineup. Yeah, I know. And if you've caught up on the stream a little later, I think I've mentioned that there's a good chance that he might come from the bench. I have a free transfer to make, but I don't really have any money in the bank. So yes, I can take him out. Play Razabal. Not 100% sure on that. Still, I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I still feel Morata can do something. In case if he doesn't, and Razabal probably would be substituted around the 60th sort of a time. So I think I would go with my gut and would go with Morata still probably getting something from this game. And let's see. Again, if you really want and if you have a free transfer, go for that change. Absolutely, you can easily transfer him out next week. So for your team, absolutely go for it. Personally, for my team, I won't be doing that change. Any captaincy suggestions, Glenn? So captaincy, decent options to go for today. You have the likes of Insigne, who will be slightly popular. I prefer in terms of the rating or the ranking for all the captains for today, right? I probably would go for Insigne as the safest or the number one pick. In case if you want to go differential, I think Chiesa is the one to go for. I would probably not go for a Spanish player, but in case if you really have to go, if you have an affinity towards Spain, or if you like Spanish players, or if you again want to take a bit of a risk, a bit of a more sort of a risk, I think Ferran Torres would be the one to go for. I think he has decent attacking potential. He's shown in the past that he can score goals. He can also create, put in crosses, create chances, get assists as well. So I think if you want to go for a Spanish player, it has to be Ferran Torres. But in general, I think Insigne would be the safer pick, and Chiesa would be the differential one to go for. Ahmed, I know Morata is on the bench, and again, I personally don't feel that Rizabal, and I'm repeating myself again. I don't think that he's going to last 90 minutes. I think Morata is going to come from the bench. There's no chance that Morata doesn't start in this very important game, right? It's do or die for Spain, right? So I still feel that he will play and he can get something from the bench, especially in the later half of the game. And again, depending on how much the game goes, whether it's a 90-minute game, whether it's a 120-minute game, I think him being on the bench could be trouble for the Italian defenders, especially if we run beyond 90 minutes. Decent option. We'll take up the next one. Finn, you've got 12 players, one being Berardi. Would you take -4 for Lukaku to Orizabal? Again, so you've not got any. You've not got any other bench players. I'm assuming that's what you're trying to say here. -4 for Lukaku. I would definitely transfer Lukaku, but I would probably again, whether you have to take out Berardi to make that cash. I'm not. I think you can still make that transfer. Berardi you can still keep, right? Because I know he's not starting, but he still can come from the bench. He can get something against Spain. Spain really don't have a very good defense. They've been dodgy in defense, to be very honest. And getting in Garcia again, I'm not 100% sure whether that's going to make a huge difference in terms of them keeping a clean sheet, because I personally think Spain is not going to keep a clean sheet. Italy's definitely going to score in this game, and there's a good chance that even Berardi can come from the bench and do something and get some points off, right? So I would probably not, not take out Berardi. You can still make the Lukaku to Orizabal change, because obviously Lukaku's not he's eliminated, he's not playing, right? So for that one transfer, I think you can still take that chance. Absolutely, you can transfer him out in case Spain go out. But I would probably not change Berardi. I think I would keep Berardi. Won't take a hit for sure. Chiesa or Immobile captain? I think Chiesa out of the two for sure. Whether you're playing safe or whether you're going for a differential, I think Chiesa is still a better option to go for. I think there's a good chance that he gets something from the game. He's a good differential as well, as I said. So I think he's a good option to go for. Morata bench, Lucas. I know Morata is benched, and I don't know how many people are going to tell me that. But yeah, Morata is benched. He's not playing, and I'm not transferring him out. And it's a gut call that I'm taking. If you want, you can absolutely take that, make that change, take that transfer out, and use that. But I'm personally not taking Morata out. Chiesa might return big as Alaba gets a lot forward. Yeah, absolutely, Tejas. And I think I've also covered that. And thanks for bringing that point again. Very good point. I think Chiesa could do really well because Alba tries to get a lot forward. He's one of the few defenders or defensive positions in Spain that gets a lot more further forward, right? And he's been absolutely great. If you look at his stats, I think he's top in terms of whatever attacking stats you can think of, whether it's chances created, whether it's big chances created. So you see that he's creating a lot for Spain. And I still feel, I know Italy is going to be a whole different ball game altogether, but I still feel he will try to go forward as and when he can, as and when he gets the opportunity. So I think that would leave a lot of space for Chiesa to run behind, and I think Chiesa could do really well in this game. Who am I supporting? I'm Glenn. I'm not supporting any country, to be very honest. I like the chances of England, winning it after a long time, and people. I know there's a lot of hype around England, and I support Manchester United, so I technically probably would be going for United players in the England team. So probably a soft spot for England, but again, not really supporting England very highly, or no support as such. Olmo versus Barella, you already have Torres or Chiesa and Chiesa. I think I would probably go for Olmo. Yeah, Barella is a good differential, but I would probably go for Chiesa if I had the Chiesa Barella choice. I think that's what you already asked before. But I think between Olmo and Barella, probably Olmo. I still feel he could have a okay sort of a game. And again, it's an easy transfer to make out, right? So Olmo is also a better differential in terms of ownership, right? So a lot less people will be owning Olmo. So there's another good chance of having him in your team and trying to get that attacking potential. Because if you straight away look in terms of expected goals or expected assists, I think those numbers are much better for Olmo as compared to Barella. Italy or Spain? Need Spain to win. Yeah, I think Italy's gonna win. I personally think that Italy is too strong for Spain. It could be a close one, but I still feel Italy's gonna win the game. Stones or Maguire? Maguire's cheaper. Maguire's cheaper, yes. Both have attacking potential in terms of both have goal threat in terms of goals from set pieces, corners, free kicks, etc. So I think probably go for the cheaper option here. Maguire is also decent. I think Stones is also good, but in case, again, depends on what you're doing with that additional money as well, right? So in case if you really don't have to do anything with that money, I think you can go for Stones. It's a flip of a coin, to be very honest. But in case if you need that extra money and you're investing it somewhere else, I think Sahil, it's a decent option to go for Maguire. Sorry, for Maguire in this one, right? So because he's cheaper, you can take that money and invest somewhere else. So probably go for him. Rendell, you're asking, do you think Italy versus Spain will go to penalty shootout, mate? No, I personally don't think so. I still think it's going to be a close game. But my prediction is 2-1. I think Italy's attack is pretty strong, right? We've seen in bits and pieces and patches that Spain have struggled in terms of keeping clean sheets. I think they've kept a couple of clean sheets, but in the last, in especially in the knockout stages, right, their defense has looked a bit dodgy, to be very honest. And I think Italy's attack is quite strong. I know we generally talk about Italy's defense, and most people kind of talk about how Italy is good in terms of having a great defense, having the likes of Chiellini, Bonucci, and all those great defenders in the lineup. But I still feel it's a very good Italian lineup in terms of attack, and I think it's gonna be a 90-minute game, to be very honest. Sam, thanks a lot for subscribing. How many points do I have? Again, I hope that really doesn't discourage you at all. But right now I have 285 and I'm around the 120k mark. So it's not been a couple of, it's been a pretty average last couple of match days for me. I think the last match day I was heavily depending on Spain and I think against Switzerland, and I think that really flopped badly. So I lost out there. Though I gained in terms of having a couple of English players and especially captaining Kane. But I think in general I lost out, because there was a lot to change in my team and there was a lot of fires to put out, right? So I couldn't get an English defender, and especially the likes of Shaw, who did really well. I know a lot of players or managers captained Shaw as well, so they must have absolutely nailed it, right? And what a dream, getting in Shaw as a free transfer probably and getting all those points and even captaining him, right? So not doing that great in terms of points. I'm at 285. We'll take up the next one. Hari Prasad, who takes penalty for Italy? I think it's Immobile whenever he's on the pitch. I know Jorginho is a penalty taker for Chelsea, and he's taken a few penalties for Italy as well. But I think if Immobile is on the pitch, I think he will be the one who will be taking penalties. Still, there is a chance that Jorginho takes penalties, but if you're only getting him in, for those penalties, and if he doesn't even take them, I think Jorginho might not be a decent option. Uh, yeah. So we'll take up the next one. Donnarumma in for Simon, worth a transfer. I think again, if it's a free transfer price, I think it's still okay. Again, still think that Donnarumma is not gonna keep a clean sheet. I think Spain is gonna probably score. So whether you really feel that they can keep a clean sheet, that's one. But on the other hand, whether Simon can get a lot of save points, maybe. If you have a free transfer, why not? I think Italy has a better defense than Spain for sure, right? And if it's a free transfer, then absolutely go for it. There's no harm in going for the transfer, considering that you're also getting a player who's probably playing the final as well, right? So depending on your team and what kind of transfers you will be making for the finals, I think you're getting a player who can get to the finals, get you that additional option as well. So I think Donnarumma is a good one to go for. Will Barella make some magic today? I hope so. I hope so. I am not really betting on him to go crazy in this match, but I still feel that he has decent potential. But if I compare him to the likes of Chiesa, etc., probably not as high as those players. But I really would be really happy if Barella gets something from this game. Can dictate a lot in the midfield, with Verratti. I think it's a dream to watch, this Italian team. I think it's a pretty strong team, and it gives a lot of shades of the old Italian teams that we've seen in the past. Glenn, you going off with just Alba? Going off with Alba? My ranking is low at the moment. Not taking it serious. Yeah, absolutely. Go with Alba. Not a problem at all. In case if you're just playing, for the fun of it, I think go for anyone you want. To be very honest, does it matter overall, Sam? In points, who you start if you're going to use all your points? Obviously, as long as they are in when they play. Probably dumb question. Sorry. Um, Again, not sure. Like, I don't think so. It matters, to be very honest. Like, yeah, like I don't know what else to say to that. Jorginho is a good option. Differential, Zishan. Not really sure in terms of his potential in terms of attacking returns. Yes, he can if he takes a penalty, and he has a decent record for penalties. I know we've seen a lot of penalties being missed in this tournament, but I still think he could take the penalty. Whether you're willing to take a risk, depending on what your condition is, in what your team is, and what kind of condition your team is in, whether you're taking a hit, etc., all those kind of questions being considered, I still feel there are better differential. I probably would go for Barella, who's not ideally a differential, to be very honest. Like, an ownership of 13 to 14 or probably even 15% is not a differential percentage, right? So if you really want to go for it, maybe worth a shot. But I again, not 100% sold on Jorginho. He's differential for sure, but whether he's a very good option, I think the likes of Barella, etc., are better. Shreyash, Maguire or Alba already have Stone, Shaw, Simon. So you have a couple of English defenders. I think so. Maguire will give you that clean sheet or that guarantee of a clean sheet, considering that England is favourites to get that clean sheet. You also get some attacking potential with Maguire, which is okay. It's not that high, but again, he can score from corners and set pieces and all of those things, as we've seen already in the tournament. Alba will be bombing a lot forward. Clean sheet potential looks a lot lesser. So I think if you compare both, what do you consider more? Do you consider getting a clean sheet for England a lot easier, or getting an attacking return for Alba a lot easier? I think I would go with Maguire, right? Maguire, because Alba, again, not 100% sure in terms of his clean sheet, and if he's not getting a clean sheet, there's no guarantee that he gets an attacking return, right? Attacking returns are a lot difficult to get. Though Alba would be the favored person to go for in terms of that attacking return, but I still feel having that safety with Maguire in terms of that clean sheet, and even slightly additional goal threat, not as compared to Alba, but in general, I think I would still go for Maguire. And it could be a decent option as well, right? You already have a couple of defenders, and having that clean sheet, etc., could also give you an additional boost in terms of getting those 6 points locked in. Jorginho's on pens for Italy. Jeet, yeah, that's what I exactly said. So let's move on from there. Yeah, whatever. Immobile or Belotti, whosoever plays, would be taking penalties. But again, not 100% sure in terms of his other attacking output, right? How many points do you have? Yeah, I think I've already covered that, Sam. It's 285, not doing that great. Hopefully, it's going to be a lot better in terms of fantasy. I did a lot better in terms of fantasy last season. So I think this has been one of those tournaments, right? I've kind of thought whether to really play it seriously. I was serious when I began, but after that third match day wild card that I played, and then the last week as well, I think I've suffered a lot in these two particular weeks. In general, my other weeks have gone really well, but I think last week was a big miss. I think my points were also pretty less. I think I scored some 40 odd points last week in the last match day. What about Pau Torres? He's not in the starting lineup. Yeah, I'm playing him because again I don't really have a lot of other options to go for. I don't have any cheaper options to go for in terms of Spain, and I don't really have budget. So if I could have had budget, I probably would have made the easier switch from Torres to Alba. I know there's a huge difference in terms of price. If you can do that, I think it's a good option to go for, considering you have the budget, of course. But I personally won't be, I don't really see him also, even if he comes on, I don't really see him doing a lot. I know he's come off from the bench a couple of times and he's got a couple of assists, etc. as well. But again, against the Italy team and their defense, I personally don't fancy that a lot. So I probably I would keep him because I have constraints in my team. But if you can, then definitely, get in the likes of Alba. If you can't, probably even Aspeloketa could be a decent option. False nine today, I think that's the reason. Yeah, I think he's playing the false nine role. Could be a lot different, right? Like we've seen how Morata and how the setup has been for Spain, and it could probably throw in a couple of surprises as well to the Italian team. So let's see. Let's see. I think it's going to be a very interesting spectacle. Maguire or Stones, which is good. Again, flip of a coin. If you have the budget, go for Stones or just go for Maguire. Not really much of a difference here. Immobile or Insigne, as a pick, if you're asking, I think Rashi, it's Insigne. I think he's a better pick overall. Has good attacking threat in terms of goals and assists as well. If you saw the last game, he scored a great goal, and I think he has the potential to do that against the Spanish team as well. So I think out of the two, I would go with Insigne. Michael, you're asking, should I captain Immobile over Insigne to gain rank? Again, do you really think that Immobile would not be as highly captain because his ownership is crazy, right? His ownership is more than 50%, and I still feel a lot of people would be going for Immobile. So, in case if you really want to gain rank and if you have Chiesa, I think that would be a better bet to go for. I still feel, out of these two, I don't think so. There'll be a huge rank gain if you go for somebody like an Immobile. Considering that he probably would not score as much or higher to Insigne. So I think keep Insigne. If these are the two options. If you have Chiesa or if you can get Chiesa and you can captain him, I think that would be a lot better in terms of gaining rank, right? Barella, I've already mentioned, like him as a pick, but I think Chiesa is a better option to go for. Barella worth try. I've already kind of covered that. What about Pau Torres? He's not in the starting lineup. Yes, he's not in the starting lineup. So if you can replace him, guys, definitely do that. Go for, if you want to go for a Spanish defender, I think Aspilicueta could be an option. Jordi Alba would be the preferred choice here. Or if you want to get an Italian defender or even an English defender, right? The priority would be to get an English defender. If you can get an English defender, let's say get somebody like a Maguire. If you have those additional 0.5 0.6 million, that sort of a price with you, if you have that much money, go for Maguire. Or else just keep out, or as you can easily substitute him and get one of your English defenders before the next match, right? Is Grealish worth going for, Sahil? I don't think so. If I really have to take a risk in terms of another midfielder, I think Mount would be the preferred choice here. I know he doesn't have a huge point ceiling in terms of how many he can score, as we've seen in FPL as well. But I think I would also not go towards Saka or even Sancho, right? I'm not 100% sure who starts there. Could be Saka. I think he's fit, as what Southgate mentioned. But I think I won't go for Grealish. Too huge a risk, to be very honest. Good captain today. I need to push up. So Insigne is the safer one, to be very honest. Chiesa, I think Chiesa would be the one to go for. Yeah, there's a chance that Jorginho takes the penalty if Immobile is not on the. Sorry, if Immobile is not there, probably he takes it. Probably Immobile takes it. There's a risk there, right? So I would go for Chiesa. I think Chiesa. So Chiesa is the one to go for in case if you want to really try to gain rank. If you're chasing and if you are falling behind and if you want to catch up, I think Chiesa is the one to definitely go for. I think that's pretty clear, from what we've discussed so far. Insigne, Chiesa for captain, Felix. Insigne safer, Chiesa differential, and a little bit riskier. So in case if you are okay taking the risk, Chiesa. Chiesa Immobile captaincy, Abhilash already kind of covered that. Chiesa safer. Sorry, Chiesa a little riskier. I've repeated myself so many times that I'm probably starting to sound like a tape. Uh, yeah, I think Chiesa would be the risky one, and Immobile again. Not really fancying Immobile to be very honest. I think if you have Insigne, go for him. Otherwise, go for Chiesa. Thoughts on just two Spain players? I think Ferran Torres is one for sure. And if you can get Alba, I think Brian, definitely Alba. I think Alba, in terms of stats, I think he's done pretty well. He has good attacking stats. He's created a lot of chances for Spain. Unfortunately, they've missed a lot of chances, so you don't really reflect or you don't really see those things in terms of fantasy points. But I think overall, still Alba has done pretty well. Mukundan is -8 taking worth taking. Is taking -8 points risk good? I personally don't think so. -8 is worth taking a risk. I don't think so. There are a lot of high scoring potential players that you can get, or differential players that you can get in your team. I think -4 is the max. I still would not prefer a -4, and that's why I'm not kind of taking those chances with my players. I think there's a lot more to lose in terms of your points and your positions right now at this stage, when majority of the players would be going for similar player. Majority of the managers would be going for similar players, right? So probably just stop at -4 at the worst. Don't definitely go for -8. I don't think so. It's worth the risk. Sahil, thanks a lot for asking all those questions, man. I'm sure your questions really helped the other people on the stream as well. So thank you so much for that. Let's go Italy. Let's go. Let's see. Chiesa or Olmo. I think between the two, Chiesa would be the one to go for, and especially if you can captain him. Yeah, that's what you're asking. Captaincy, definitely Chiesa. I think Chiesa would be the one to go for. Morata bench, Mohammed. I know he's benched, and yeah, let's just leave it to that. I think I'll take my chances. You can remove him if you want. You can go for Rizabal for 1 week and probably take him out next week, next match day, depending on whether Spain go through or go out of the tournament. That's a call that you can take. If you have a free transfer, definitely go for it. I don't have one, to be very honest, so I'll probably just avoid. Right. So, and I still more than that, I still feel Morata. I'm a firm believer in terms of what Morata can do. Right. I know he's not done it, and I'll still probably get a lot of slack for it in terms of supporting Morata. Again, I don't really have anything for him, but I still feel that there's a good chance that he can do something. He can get something from this game. Immobile or Insigne captain? Immobile, I really don't fancy him. Definitely Insigne. He's a lot better in terms of attacking potential. He can score as well. I think Immobile plays a lot deeper in terms of his positioning has been a lot deeper. He tries to come a little deep, get the ball, and play to the likes of Chiesa. Whether it was Berardi, now it's Chiesa, and on the other side it's Insigne, right? So I think there a lot of his attacking potential kind of reduces. He's probably more likely to get an assist than a goal himself. So I think I would go with Insigne, right? Guys, make sure, I think a couple of minutes to go, and make sure that you save in your teams. I'll also make sure that I've saved my team. Don't want any last minute blunders. If you've been following me in FPL and last season in fantasy, I think I made that one blunder where I didn't save my team. So make sure that you save your team. And good luck to everyone. Have a great week. Have a great match day as well. I really hope you're able to get some good points. If you're playing for the fun of it, to you. But I think if you're playing seriously, I really hope and I really wish all the best to all of you. So many changes. Mine's a mess. I think I hope so, Rashi. I hope so that you're done with your changes. And when I saw the lineup, I was so disappointed, to be very honest. I was so expecting Morata to start this one, and considering I had already made a couple of transfers before the lineups kind of came, I think it restricted my budget more than anything, right? So I hope you guys have made your transfers. Let's see. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think Italy's still going to be favorites to win this, and at least I believe that. And let's see how it goes. I think England game is also going to be a good one, and I really think that Italy versus England would be the final, and I think it could be a great game. Italy Spain, definitely. I personally want Italy to win. I think I can't say that Spain have won a lot in terms of European tournaments or even the World Cup, right? Because yes, they won stuff. It's not that they've not won, but I still feel, Italy from where it was a few years back and how they've kind of recovered and come back under Mancini. I think it's an incredible story. I think it'll be an incredible story if they win the Euros. I think it's going to be massive for the country as well. I think we see a cream of great Italian players also coming through. So I think that's also positive signs. So I personally would like to be Italy versus England, and personally then I don't know who I would be supporting among the two, right? Because I support Manchester United, which is obviously a club from England, and then there's Italy on the other hand. So I probably will watch it as a neutral, and then probably that's being a little bit diplomatic in this case. But let's see. I think it's going to be interesting. Thank you so much, guys, for joining today's stream. I hope you liked, whatever we did. I hope I was able to answer whatever questions or whatever queries, whatever doubts, etc., that you had. It was a bit rushed at times, but I think there were a lot of questions, and we were running a bit short on time. Do give it a thumbs up, guys, if you found this stream useful. It really means a lot to us when you like our content, when you comment on it, when it spreads to more and more people like you, and that's the aim here, right? To help the FPL community, to help the fantasy community, to build a football community as well. We've also got a Instagram page as well, so do go there and check that out as well. I think we do some good stuff out there, and there's a lot of updates, etc., that keep on following. In terms of, I think, Euros content, we will be doing a couple of, probably one video. We'll see if we can do a couple of videos, considering that a few of you might have a wild card or a limitless chip left in the for the last match day. So we'll see in terms of how many videos we want to do. Obviously, there'll be a team selection video. We'll also try to do a stream. Again, I'm not 100% sure in terms of what kind of questions you people will have, because it's just two teams at the end of the day, right? And you're only going to pick 11 players. So how many questions probably you can have? Let's see. We'll see. We can still catch up, for a short time on a stream, just before the deadline. Of course, we'll be also doing a lot of FPL content. If you guys don't know, I started this channel with FPL content in mind, and obviously, spreading into different directions of football. So that's the idea here, and we'll also be doing FPL this season. We'll be playing it. We'll be creating a lot of content. So there's a lot of stuff that will be coming on. And I think you will like it. There'll be a lot of different things that we'll be doing this particular year. So make sure that you check out our channel, you subscribe, guys. It's really, really important. Subscribe to the channel, because that is the only way you can get an idea in terms of when and what video we are releasing. So I think that'll be really intense, that'll be really crazy. I had a really good season, and I got a lot of tons of messages in terms of so many people doing really well, following us and following our content last season. It was really good. It was overwhelming, to be very honest, and I really hope that I'm able to help a lot of people this year as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Really, really important, guys. All the best for this, for the semifinals. Do watch the matches, guys, if you can. Not a lot of games left, so it's always fun to watch football, right? And then obviously have a discussion about it. So I think we leave it there. It was a good stream, and thank you so much for joining. I hope you liked today's stuff, and I'll see you in Sainers next time. Bye bye.